All right. So there'll be some extra steps adding a logo. So you may if it's not in your sprite sheet, for instance, you still have to import stuff in. So I'm going to import from another one from class. It was the cards folder. There was like a monster in here that was drawn out. So we'll bring that one in. It's still not a sprite thing, so we need to quickly just move that around and get the parts we want from it. So sprite 2D UI. I'm just going to just tell it it's multiple. Can do a quick apply to make sure that it's a sprite. But I really want to start going over to sprite editor, and I want to take the monster out. So it'll be like something arg. So I'll just draw a box around and pick up that. Okay, so we have a sprite. We'll call it logo 0. So you can name these things, and then we hit the old apply button, and that applies it. So now we have like a sprite picked out from the image. So come in here. There's that sprite, and we want it to be our logo. Okay, so now I guess the stage is set. So we want to do something a little bit different to get that logo in place. So we can't just say, here's your thing.
Yeah.
So what do we do?
So you go to game object,
Okay.
and then you would go back under UI, and then you would put in an image. So that'll give you a blank slate where you can drag your sprite in.
Okay. There we go.
Yeah. And then you can move it around and resize it however you'd like.
All right. So what's it? Also it needs to be in. I want it in the panel too. So it's in this panel. And WER. That looks like a good one. So I bring it up. It's going to be there. And then I guess I can scale this one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's details to scaling. Let's go back. So I'm off the top. I want to be off the top. Maybe that. Get bigger. It needs to be larger. Bigger. All right, there we go. Okay, so now we have arg and we have start. And that should be in place. It's got the, what is it? I think it probably has transparency and other kinds of little details, but let's hit play and just see what it looks like for the moment. So yeah, so the scaling factor here is not super hot. So yeah, so when we hit play, this didn't scale quite right. Let me unplay. And look at that, it's true. Oh, I hit other things. Let me undo this, undo. What's going on?
So when you change the size of your window, the game object itself also scaled. So since you're preserving the aspect ratio of everything, it's not lining up because it just knows that it's supposed to be 2.5 times larger than what it is, rather than being like, I should be at this point of the image. And
oh, right.
Yeah, that's what I meant
Scaling
by the
madness.
anchoring.
Okay. So that gets us into the issue of anchors.
Yeah.
So I can move things around, but what happens is they're just literally wherever we put them. So even if I take this image and I move it to the side, it's just going to be off to the side. But scaling-wise, it's going to be shrinking or growing, but it may not grow and shrink where we want. So like if it's falling around the edges. So like the button over here, its outline is outside the aspect ratio of what we want. So we need to do a few things to make that happen. So like let's say we wanted this one to be centered towards the top. We're accessing the image, that's the logo. So what would we do here? We've got position X. So these are absolute positions.
Yeah.
So you can give them like zeros or zeros, and now that's the center.
Yes.
Now that's not where we want this one. We want this one up towards the top.
So if you click that over there.
So that over there would be this little widget.
Uh-huh.
And the widget is anchor presets.
Yes. And then you click the top one.
So we'll hit the one that anchors on the top.
So that does the anchoring. I remember like on Windows, there's like an Alt button I think you have to press to do things.
Yeah, so it's like Control or Shift.
Yeah, I think it's Alt.
And then Alt. Let's see.
Yeah, so then that would line it up at the top.
So it's Alt on Windows and it's Option on Mac. So that's pinned to the center point on the top. Okay, so now that it's pinned there, no matter what happens, that point will be where it's held. So I could do some new scaling. I don't know what like that.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, but if I hit play, let's just double check what will happen. Yep, still over the top. So what did we do? We want that. The top was supposed to be pinned.
So you can see the position changed after you scaled it. So making sure that it's 0 means that the top will always be pinned at the top.
Okay, cool. So now it's actually big, and it's pinned to the top. Good. Got it. All right, and then if we want to fix the button is a pretty big button. It's out past the size of the window, for instance.
Right.
So we want to do the same thing for this, is to pin it someplace and then adjust it.
Yeah, so the best way to anchor it, since you don't want it to go outside of the thing, would be to make it a 0 and a 1.
Okay, on the anchor area here?
Yeah.
0. And then this is a Y1?
An X1.
Okay, so X1. All right.
And then if you change the left and the right positions.
I'll just start them at zeros.
Yeah. The right position.
Oh, and that's at 0, 2. All right. So we're at center.
Since you changed the Y position, it got rid of whatever value it had. So that's why the image disappeared.
Okay, because it's now also behind.
Yeah.
All right, so if I grab, let's go back, the button. Oh, here we go. I can grab the button.
Yeah.
And I moved it, and now you can see the position of negative 129 here. Okay.
Yeah.
So there it is. There's the position. Is it somewhat anchored, or is it?
So it's anchored on the X and on the X. So no matter how large the canvas gets in the X direction, it'll stay pinned to the ends, which makes sure that the image is going to be centered. If you also want it to be pinned at the Y, you can make an assumption like maybe this is 0.1 of where the Y-axis is, and then it ends at like 0.3. So you can put those numbers into there and make it start at like 0.1. Or I think it was 0.2 actually.
Maybe 0.2. Okay.
Yeah. And then if you just delete the top and the bottom, so the values are 0.
They keep adjusting as we're typing the numbers, and now this just restarts it.
Yeah, so now it's going to keep it preserved within there.
Okay, so it's got a boundary, and it's going to stay preserved in the boundary space. So always let's hit play and just see what happens. Okay. So play is going, and I hit start. All right, good. So that behaved a little more as we expected.
Right. If you want to hit play again, you can also just try adjusting your game window and pulling it closer or pulling it wider and seeing how the objects react.
Yeah. Just grab the game window on the side, and then we can squish it. And now it's squishing, so you can all these little materials. But as it's changing in that direction, it's trying to maintain the relationship from the top here to the bottom there.
You can also try moving that one up and down.
Okay, and also clicking. So let's see. So that's the bottom. And I have to reset to move back because we didn't give ourselves a back button. Hit play again. There we go. And so if I go up, you'll see it resizes under. So you have to do a lot of this sort of menu manipulation and sizing so that things are pinned and then scaled.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll get more into that. I just wanted to make sure you had those options and kind of saw a little bit of the confusion in some ways through to the other side. So that should be this piece. Okay. Now if I hit unplay, the other thing I want to point out is that in game mode, this is where we simulate like everything from like right now it says free aspect ratio. If I zoom in, free aspect ratio, zoom back out, and like a lot of phones are going to be portrait mode. So let's say if they were 10 by 16, you would be able to do 10 by 16 here, and now you're kind of like simulating a cell phone. So that's another thing, you can add different modes in. Anyway, all right, let's do that, and then if there's more stuff, I'll get more tutorials. All right, cool, thanks. Oh, zoom. So much zoom. It's